My name is Art Sackler. I'm from the law firm of Sackler, Brinkman, and Hughes, and I am the manager of the Coalition for a 21st Century Postal Service.
So tell me a little bit about what exactly it is that the Coalition for 21st Century, you said mail service?
Postal Service.
Postal
Yeah.
Service does, but then also go a little bit into detail about what exactly does 21st Century Post Service mean or mail service mean?
Well, our coalition is an industry-wide coalition. It covers mailers of every conceivable kind, businesses large, medium-sized, and small. It covers shippers, in other words, those folks who send packages. Amazon and eBay and the parcel shippers and so forth are all members of our coalition. It is also our suppliers in the paper industry, the printing industry, those who supply technology and software to our industry. So it's a very wide coalition, kind of a broad cross-section of an industry that's valued at about 1.6 trillion in sales and employs more than 7 million people nationwide. That was all, of course, pre-COVID, but it's worth about 4% of GDP.
Why is it important that we consider funding the Postal Service? I mean, we did get a statement from the Postmaster General of the United States, and she mentioned how the Postal Service is seeing a loss of upwards of $54 billion through just alone this year with, the drop in one of their biggest revenue makers, which is the, mail service.
Yeah, I think the 54 billion was a 10-year number, but the Postal Service remains vital to commerce and communications throughout this country. Pre-COVID, it was still delivering 135, 140 billion pieces of mail and packages a year. And people who live in the far reaches of Arizona, as they do in Wyoming and Montana and upstate New York and Western North Carolina, you name it, and in these let alone Alaska, people in these far-flung areas need the Postal Service not just to stay in contact, but to survive. A lot of their supplies are brought in by the Postal Service. And for all those folks who want to compete as businesses out in rural areas, the eBay seller folks and others, they need the Postal Service not only to take the goods that they are selling so they can compete with other folks and other businesses around the country, they need to have their supplies delivered. UPS, FedEx, and other competitors aren't going to go way out into the rural areas. They hire the Postal Service to deliver that so-called last mile.
When in the first draft of the CARES Act, President Donald Trump did say that in order for the post office to receive some sort of aid, it had to raise its prices. Many also fear, especially like house Dems, they fear that that's sort of like a step towards privatizing the Postal Service. What kind of dangers, if any, or maybe they're not even dangers, but what kind of effects can that have if the Postal Service is privatized? But also, is that a violation of some sort of right that citizens in the United States have?
No, it's not a violation, but it would be a real problem. And you can tell that by simply looking overseas. There have been a lot of countries that have partially or completely privatized their postal systems. And in almost every case, service goes down, prices go way up, and legacy costs. The Postal Service owes billions and billions and billions on pension and retiree health costs and that sort of thing. Those are usually retained by the government and have to be paid by taxpayers. Another thing, all these countries that have privatize, for the most part, are small countries, Finland, England, et cetera, et cetera. And that disparity in size and population and expectations, I think, between the United States and those countries do not make their examples easily transferable to us. Plus, the United States carries close to half of all the mail in the world. So you can't take a small country with a small population and a small amount of mail and see how they did it and say, hey, well, that would apply to this enormous country of ours. And if you think about privatizing, just forget whether it should be done, but focus on how it could be done. Really privatizing it, nobody's going to buy it. There's a reason UPS and FedEx, for example, don't go everywhere. And that is because it is not profitable for them to deliver, one or two addresses in a square mile, as they do out west, sometimes even less than that. It's just not profitable.
Would you call yourself sort of like a, I don't know, warrior for the United States Postal Service? In the work that you do?
No, I am I'm somebody who is an advocate. I am working with these groups. I do believe that the Postal Service is essential to this country, especially now, and that. I'm sorry?
Why? Why do you feel that it's essential now?
Well, because of all the delivery all of the delivery items I was talking about before that the country really needs. I mean, think about how much you may have ordered yourself online or know of other people who have. Somebody's got to deliver that, right?
Just to kind of start wrapping things up as well, what are some ways that you're encouraging people in the community to, save the United States Postal Service, or what can people do to mobilize?
Well, I think the most important thing that any single person can do is to contact his or her members of Congress. That would mean Senators Sinema and McSally and whoever, in Arizona's case, and whoever is the local member of Congress, and tell them just a simple message. Postal Service needs to be saved. It needs to be given money to help it, and then after that's done, then have structural changes made to ensure that the Postal Service can be there for generations to come.
You look at the hashtag Save USPS, a lot of people are encouraging each other to buy stamps. Is that an effective way, a kind of direct approach that people can take on how?
I think, and I really appreciate that one. That's a really thoughtful one. I think it's going to be more symbolic than anything else, because in the Postal Service's case, you're really talking about billions and billions of dollars. That's an awful lot of stamps, and people of good heart and good intention are doing that, and I think they should continue to do it. But the most effective thing they can do is contact their members of Congress.
All righty. Well, thank you so much once again. I really do appreciate it.